Okay, this is going to be our first attempt at live streaming. So if anyone wants to tune in, you guys are all welcome to come and watch. We're going to be discussing the 10 virgins, the parable of the 10 virgins with Jesus Christ and light. Sorry for the quick silence. I had to turn down my volume on YouTube. It started playing what I'm saying. There's a little delay. But okay, so we're gonna start. I guess, what do you guys think? What do you guys think about light? What do you guys think about the parable of the 10 virgins? Do you think that light plays a pretty big role in this conversation, in like the preparedness or unpreparedness of the virgins? What do you guys think?
I think light's kind of a big deal anyway, even outside of just that parable. Jesus commands us to be the light of the world. Yes, we do need to keep our oil full. We need to keep our oil filled at all times, waiting for Jesus to come back.
So right, so I guess Gage, can you read Matthew 6:22 to 23?
Yep, Matthew 6, verses 22 and 23. The eye is the lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness?
Right. So that's something we got to think about when we're thinking about light, right? When we're having this discussion, we got to think about how powerful we are, us image bearers of God, right? If we are full of light, we're powerful workers for the kingdom. But if you don't have that light, if your light is darkness, then how powerful are you, an image bearer of God who produces darkness in the world? That's a cautionary tale. Another good verse, if someone wants to read it, Matthew 5:14 through 16. I think we're gonna tie this one in as well. Um, anyone want to read that, or I could read it as well, but if any of you guys want to read it, give you a second.
Matthew 5:14 to 16.
Hmm.
You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others. They may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven.
Right. Right. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Right. You're supposed to shine bright and let all like the corners of the world see your light. But what are you producing? So Ken, can you talk a little bit about, or JP, can you guys talk a little bit about the parable of the 10 virgins?
Unmute yourself, Ken.
So with light, um, I find light is one of the more interesting mysteries of the faith because if you talk to most believers or even go into like a church service or anything, we'll say something like "Let your light shine bright," or people say you are the light of the world, and everyone will immediately be like, "Yes, you're right. I'm the light of the world," and everyone likes this idea of light. But then when you go, "What is light?" then it becomes like, and then you start getting answers like, well, light is righteousness and the word, and like you have all these things, but like there is something deeper to what light is, right? And so there's different aspects of light. There's there's the light that comes that physically lights up the room, that is not of the candle but is from the candle, right? There's the
Hmm.
source of the light. There's the candle lamp itself. So if you start to break, like, and then if you think of the temple, there's a light that's of the sanctuary, and then there's a light that is emanated from the Ark of the Covenant, which becomes a pillar of fire, and everybody can see it. So those two verses that you read earlier, Matthew 6:22 and Matthew 6:23, um, there's it says light three times, but it's actually three different Greek words. So going to what you're talking about, you said the lamp, right? That is
Correct.
mentioned in the parable of the 10 virgins. Did you want me to start there?
Yeah. I mean, that's the perfect place to start. I think a lot of people miss, and you said it earlier a little bit. I think a lot of people miss the importance of light in the parable. They focus on the oil, but let's talk about the light.
Right. And and well, we know like in John 1, it says, in him was light, and light was the life of men, right? And light is life, but we also know that spirit is life. So there's so light has some type of connection to spirit.
Hmm.
Um, and spirit has some type of connection to word, and word has some type of connection to mind. There's just this cyclical holy cycle of like words that all always work back into themselves. So the parable of the 10 virgins says, then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. Now, who's the bridegroom? Anybody? Hello?
Well,
Jesus
we are the.
Christ.
No, we're the brides, right?
Oh, you're saying
We're
who's the
we're
bride?
the bride.
Jesus Christ is the bridegroom. Yes, you're right. Thanks. Sorry.
Right. So we don't need to go into the parable because we could just stop right here because in order to understand in order to really understand the depth of this parable, the key is the lamp because they're we know from this parable that they're carrying a lamp, right? And they're going to be walking through darkness with this lamp, going to the bridegroom, going to the wedding. We already know that this is the concept of the second coming of Christ.
Hmm.
But if you rewind it all, what is this lamp? Because every one of them have their own individual lamps. Like it is not saying that there's one lamp and 10 bridesmaids. It's saying that there's 10 bridesmaids, 10 lamps. So that means every single bridesmaid is responsible for their lamp. So so now when we start talking about lamp and light, it's important to start to understand or get a grasp of the concept, right? Because obviously we're talking about the something that's going to lead us to the wedding. It's an
Right.
important concept. So how about let's read the parable of the lamp, which is in Mark chapter 4. Give me 1 second. It's Mark chapter 4, 21 through 25. Can someone read that or?
Yeah. Let me pull it up or engage it if you want to pull it up or JP.
I'm currently doing some posting and sharing of the video feed.
Okay, Mark chapter 4, you said?
Yeah, Mark chapter 4, start at 21 and end at 25.
All right, Mark chapter 4, verses 21 to 25. He said to them, do you bring in a lamp to put it under a bowl or a bed? Instead, don't you put it on its stand? For whatever is hidden is meant to be disclosed, and whatever is concealed is meant to be brought out into the open. If anyone
Mm.
has ears to hear, let them hear. Consider carefully what you hear. He continued, with the measure you use, it will be measured to you, and even more. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them.
So this is kind of indicative of it's almost like it's talking about your mind, right?
Yeah.
Like, right. Which is interesting because the very next parable is the growing seed, and we know the seed is the word of God. So you have this combination of this mind and then a seed that's growing inside of the mind, or the garden and the seed that grows inside the garden, right? The word of God growing inside the mind. So so we could start digging a little deeper into what this lamp is. So going back to Matthew 6:22, I'll read it. Mike,
So can I say a little something about that? So the eye is the lamp of the body, right? That's what it says. If your eye is healthy, full of light, if your eye is bad, it's full of darkness. I think the eye is a representation of your spiritual preparedness and desire. Like it's like what you're taking in or aiming at, valuing, and it shapes your whole life. So it's like a a it's where information comes in, right? Kind of what I'm looking at. Is that what you were asking about? Are we trying to the eye is the lamp of the body?
well, I don't know. Let's just break it down, and it helps to key in on the Greek words because we already said that between 6:22. I'll just read it again. The light
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
body is the eye. Now, notice the version that Gage wrote. it says the lamp of the body is the eye. That's a very interesting thing to pick out there. So the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, the whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, the whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? And in these two verses, there's the word light is mentioned 3 times, but it's 3 different Greek words. So it's important. So it's important to get into the Greek and understand what the Greek is trying to say, so that we can assign the concept of light that it's trying to project.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
that's good.
so the first light is the light of the body is the eye. So we got to just pause right there, and we have to work out that whole sentence right there, right? So we know that the body. I'll read it. The body is what? 1 Corinthians 3:16 says, don't you realize that all of you together are the temple of God and the Spirit of God lives in you? Or King James says, know ye not that ye are the temple of God and the Spirit of God dwells inside of you. Right? So we know that our body, mind, soul, spirit, right? That
Mhm.
whole complex is the temple. We are the temple. We know that we were the temple the moment the veil tore in two, and the temple made with hands became the temple made without hands. So going back to this verse, it says the light of the body is the eye. So you as a temple, the light of your temple is your eye. So what is the light? The word, if you break it down, is linchos or luknos. Luknos is
Mhm.
the word. And the Strong's, the Strong's word is G3088, and the word is a lamp, a candle that is placed on a stand or a candlestick.
And now we're direct correlation to the tabernacle.
Right. So, if this is the tabernacle, the sanctuary, the tabernacle right here, it's talking about this element right here. And notice we have a veil. We have a veil here, and we have a veil on this end. So this entire room was dark. The only light
Mm.
in this entire room that the Levitical priests had was that light right there. So that's what we're talking about in this specific verse, is that candlestick. So now we know that it's saying that the light, which is why it says lamp. When Gage read
Right.
it, it said lamp. And the reason it says lamp is because it's specifically talking about the candlestick. And on top of the candlestick are 7 individual lamps. So the lamp of the temple, the light of the temple is the eye. So, Mike, can you break down eye? Or did you want me to?
Um, I don't know how you want me to break it down, but like within like how I view the eye, a healthy eye, right, is single, clear, um, devotion. It tends to produce a life that actually stays lit over time, like lamp with oil. But a bad eye is like clouded, divided, spiritually dull. It produces darkness, like a lamp that looks right for a moment, but then goes out. So I guess since you gave it back to me, kind of in Matthew 6, Jesus says you can have light, but if your eye is bad, then what's in you is what is in you is darkness. And how great is that darkness? He makes it super serious. He touches on it again. He says, how great is the darkness? Matthew 25, the foolish virgins, they look prepared, they have lamps, but their readiness is superficial. They don't have what's needed when the moment actually arrives. So the way my correlation is both are confronting danger of appearing spiritually fine while lacking the inner reality that sustains faithfulness. I'm sure that's not what you wanted from me when you said, "Can I define light?" You want me to kind of relate it back, but I'm looking at the more
I'll just
superficial,
use strong.
overarching kind of. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No worries. So using Strong's, right? The word Strong's for eye is
Yeah.
ophthalmos. Ophthalmos. That's G3788, which literally means the eye. But the spiritual understanding is the eyes of the mind, the faculty of knowing, right? So it's talking about the lens, your spiritual lens. It's talking about not, it's not what you see, it's how you see it. that's the key to it, right? It's so what comes in the ear gates, what comes in the eye gates, what comes in
Right.
the nose gate, whatever comes in is filtered through the eye of your mind. And so even though you're hearing something, it's still a spiritual sight that you're receiving.
So you're
And
talking about phos, right? Are you talking about phos as in that light?
no,
No,
that
okay.
is light, correct. Phos is
Right.
light, but phos is the light that is manifest to everyone. Phos is the light that everyone can see from you, like your fruit. Like they can see like your personality, your attitude, the things you do, and the things that emanates from you. That's what everyone can see. That's your phos, right? That's why it says in Matthew 5:16, it says, "Let your light shine bright, so that they could see your good deeds." Right. So it's associating your works to your light. We're talking about the light of the inner man. We're talking about that the light that is inside of you that nobody can see. The light that like your inner thoughts, the inner workings of your soul, right? The way you
Hmm.
think, the way you reason, the truth that you believe, and all of that together comes together to land at the way you make your choices. From the point of choice on, that's what everybody starts to see. Because when you make choice, then you speak things and you move things, and then people actually see that. And so the light we're talking about is the light of the inner man. So it's so, but your light can be dark or bright, right? It comes down
Right.
to how you see things. And so it starts talking about this singularity, right? Like if the mind is, if the eye is single, the whole body shall be full of light. And that word is
So
it. Go ahead.
so you're saying kind of like our eyes are gates, right? And what
Yes.
we're taking in, what we're putting inside, what we're feeding ourselves is going to equate to the light that we produce, that we push out. So if you're inside these little holes, if you're putting in a lot of negativity, if you're consuming a lot of things that are against God, you are going to be more susceptible to pushing out, right? Is that the
No,
correct is
because
no.
doesn't Jesus says it's not what comes in because what comes in goes out the sewer. It's what comes out because what comes out comes from the heart, right? So we live in a world of darkness. We live in a world of sin. So we can't help but let fallen things and chaotic
Well, you
sinful
have a
things
you
enter
have
on.
you have a choice of what you consume, right? We have a choice. Like I don't have to consume the devil's art. I don't have to go out and, do all the I don't want to give exact specific examples, but I don't
Right.
know. Let's just talk about like a bad show. Like I don't have to watch something that glorifies the devil. And if I'm constantly watching things like that and I'm putting those things in through my gates,
So
what's
you're letting
happening
them
to
into your temple, pretty much. You're letting them in. Right.
But you, but by the time you're getting to the point where you're watching all of these shows, you've already gone through the process of receiving and processing because you wanted more. You see what I'm saying? Like you
Mm.
can't want more unless you've had it first. Like when it crosses your eye, you're like, oh, this isn't right. This has the bad. This is the wrong imagery I want in my mind, and you cut it off right there, right? That's like, but if you continue to watch it, your mind has already entered into a state of transgression.
Mm.
Like
Come into agreement, pretty much, is what you're saying with it.
yeah, you've already came into agreement with it. Like you might through reasoning go, oh, this is evil, but I'm not going to allow this evil to affect me, right? But you've come into agreement that you enjoy this evil that's coming from the television, and then that transgressed state will eventually lead into a sin or sins because what you're doing is you're essentially weaving a veil in your mind.
Okay.
But so we're talking about so you got to imagine in the old days of the Israelites where they would come into the Levitical priest would come into the temple or into the sanctuary. It was always lit and it was always bright, but they always had to trim the wicks and fill it with oil and keep it burning to keep the light of the temple. There was no darkness inside that room because the lights were burning at its fullest potential, right? So you have I got to pull that up again. So you have
I just feel like in Matthew 6, based on what we previously said, Jesus says the eye is the lamp of the body, meaning whatever you fix your attention and whatever you fix your attention on and desire on becomes the light that fills your whole inner life. right?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So then,
But
okay,
you're
continue.
Mike, you're speaking to this light, not this light.
Okay.
Like
All right.
like because because this light right here is going to be your, like, think of it like this right here is literally a tree. It's an almond tree, and we'll show you that in Exodus. And so, Jesus says, know that you will know the tree by its fruits, right? Think of it like he'll say, you will know the inner light of a man by the outer light he produces, right? So if the fruit of the man is dark, if the light that comes out of the man is dark and evil, then you already know that what is inside is dark and evil. And so you can literally notice in the parable of the lamp, it literally talks about judgment. It says what type of measurement you use on somebody will be the measurement used against you, right? This
Right.
goes in
Right.
line
Right. Right.
with this goes in line with, like, don't tell someone they have a speck in their eye when you have a log in your eye, right? We're talking about judging. And so, like, when you're looking at someone's light and you're sitting there like, oh, that's wrong, and you start judging it, it's saying make sure that your inner light is pure before you even go and talk about anybody's outer light,
Right.
because the measurement you're using, God will use on you. So we're talking about your inner thoughts, your inner emotions. The everyone We are encased in this flesh, right? So everyone gets to choose of the version of them that they want the world to see. But and we see what they project, what they project to us. But only God can see this inner light right here and know what the inner man is, the inner heart, the heart of the man is, right? So God knows your thoughts.
Okay.
God judges your thoughts.
Well, God is light, 1 John 1:5, right? And I feel like the tabernacle shows that his light is meant to be tended, right? The lynch shows the lamp. Think about it.
Can you imagine?
The lamp is in the sanctuary burning with oil. I just feel like it doesn't nothing ties it in more than that.
Well, the light in 1 John is talking about this guy.
Yeah, no, I agree. But
But
but it's all his light.
but
When
but they
when
are
you're te
connected. They're
yeah,
completely
yeah,
connected.
when you're tending to the almond tree, you're still tending to his light. You have to keep the oil
Right.
going. But
Right.
anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah,
Right. Well, I'm
that
not.
main light at the tabernacle or the Ark of the Covenant coming off of the top.
Yeah.
That's so.
My
Do
attention's
you
drawn
see where
there.
I'm saying? Like, whoever's watching, what is watching this, you could start to see where the we use one English word that covers multiple Greek words. Like, even the word love has four Greek meanings or four Greek words. So you could see how the English word itself, how when we just work in the English and just come to conclusions in English, like, it's easy for me to settle on one concept of light and somebody else to settle on a different concept of light. And even though the conversation proceeds forward, we're both going different places and
I
assigning
I don't
definition
I don't
to.
I don't think we're going there from I agree with what you're saying. A lot of people take like English words for different like meanings and even though the Bible wasn't written with that one word, and then we have light in six different places and everyone's thinking it's talking about the same light. There is a lot of confusion
Yeah.
with that. I do agree with that, but I don't think me and you are going different places. I guess what I'm trying to say
No,
is that
I'm talking in
Jesus
general, Mike.
Jesus brings that inward, like the inward in Matthew 6. Your eye is the lamp, your mind's faculty of knowing. So a single eye takes in light cleanly, and a divided eye kind of turns the inside dark. Does that make sense? Did I say that well?
Yeah.
Hey, it's my first podcast. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. But like
Well,
your
I
mind's
was.
go ahead.
So then explain, Mike. Go ahead. Then just explain the seven flames,
I
like,
don't want to do
because
that.
that's what you're speaking to. You right? Because
Yeah.
what's like that's kind of where we're speaking at, is if you look at the seven flames of the candle, it's seven individual lights, right? But when they're all burning at their maximum and their potential, they're fully fed, they're fully trimmed. All seven, even though you're looking at seven flames, you're actually looking at one unified light.
Correct.
That's that is a single eye, a single mind, right?
Right.
And that's what the verse is saying. The verse is saying when your mind is in that singular state, it can be very good or very bad.
Right.
Because it's saying like if your mind is in that singular state and full of light and full of like it's a single mind, and it's
It
saying
becomes
like
what you
that's
create.
right. It just
Right.
it just what comes out of you is at its maximum potential. So,
And
so the
and
light that comes out of you, go
and
ahead.
correct me if I'm wrong, that is what becomes phos. That is what becomes light, radiance that others
Yeah,
can
that
see in your fruits, through your fruits. Matthew 5:14 through 16.
right. The light that's made manifest is the light in the verse 623. And notice it says, if that light that be in you be dark, how great is that darkness? So
Right.
it's
Right.
literally talking about it's literally assigning the concept of darkness to light. So so yeah, so if you have an evil heart that's in you and your mind is singular in that evil, the evil that comes out of you will be strong. So like if you look at the two verses, 622 is what you see and 623 is what you do. What you see, what you do. So so 622 is what you see and how you see it, and then 623 is the result of how you see it. Because even if it looks like good light, it can be used as a manipulation for whatever, right? This is why we are to pay attention to fruit. But the light of the world, all of that light, the most of the words when it uses light is phos, which is the light of the verse 623. Thoughts? Like because we let me go into the construction. Hold on. Go,
So yeah,
go
I
ahead,
was
man.
just letting you talk. So the 10 virgins warn us that having a lamp isn't enough without sustained oil. Public brightness collapses at midnight. Can you kind of link what we're talking about when we're talking about the light of the world to that? To like, let's talk about what's
So
going on in that story.
okay, so what's the so like we talked about this unified flame, right? But what happens if like these seven lamps are not fed with oil? They're not properly fed and the wick's not trimmed, right? But they're all burning, they're just barely burning. And now you have like seven lamps that are like that are like flickering against each other and casting shadows, right? They're fighting against each other, right?
Okay. Yes. Exactly.
Now Now put yourself in the sanctuary. Are you going to see a unified light, or are you just going to see like a room
A
that's
bunch of flickering.
flickering, right? Flickering shadows, right? There's going to be darkness in that room for sure, right? So in the book of James, right, chapter 1, 5 through 8, it says, if you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. But when you ask him, be sure that your faith is in God alone. Do not flicker, right? Do not waver, for a person with divided loyalty is as unsettled as a wave of the sea that is blown and tossed by the wind. Such people should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. A double minded man is unstable in all of his ways. So if you
Right.
think about that, like, we're already
Right.
establishing that these flames are essentially your lens, your mind, the way like all of the stuff
Single-mindedness.
that right, that's double. So when you have seven flames that are flickering and going everywhere, that's a double-minded man, right? That's a man that his thoughts are in the waves and blown around by the wind. And so he's in like this man is in the sanctuary trying to pray to God while at the same time worried about the world. And so like you're saying, God help me, and then you're like, oh, but what if this happens? And what if this happens while you're talking to God? And the Bible clearly says he's not going to talk to you. He's not even going to hear you, right? John 4 twenty
Right.
four. God is a spirit and must be worshipped in spirit and in truth, right? If you're at this position, you're not in your spirit is scattered and you're not in truth because your loyalty is everywhere. So
Right.
now let's look at the parable of the 10 virgins again. You've got five that have what? They have a strong, oil-fed, unified light, right?
Right. They're ready, they're
That's the wise.
prepared, they're the wise ones. They've been fueling it.
And then you have five more that don't have enough oil for the night, right? So what is a lamp going to look like that doesn't have enough oil? Are we
Dark.
talking about what's that?
It's going to be dark. When
Right. So are we talking about a like five people that have a bright radiance, and when they're walking in the dark, they're going to clearly see the sticks so they don't stumble on them. They're going to find the path.
Right.
The creatures of darkness, the entities of darkness will be pushed far out from their reach. So the voice of the enemy won't be like a whisper, but rather it'll be like a shout. So it'll be very definable. Whereas,
What
whereas,
happens when your light goes out, when your oil burns out and you don't have enough to get to the finish line? You're going to be walking around in darkness, right?
stumbling.
right, right. I think you're always going to have some sense of a light because you still have life, right? Light is life. Like think of it like your consciousness, right? Whatever, like your bit of personality that you put on the spirit that God gave us. But but you like you said, if it's super dim, now look at that radiance and it's like almost nowhere. It's literally just lighting up your face and even casting shadows on your face because it's so dim, right? So think about, are you going to trip over everything? You're going to trip over everything in your path. You're not going to find the path. And the spirits that are in the darkness, they're going to be right in your ear, right? Are you, and how are you going to be able to tell, how are you going to be able to tell the voice of God versus the voice of the enemy?
The enemy, right? Because you're going to be walking around in it like in the darkness and you're going to need something to point you towards that right direction. No, I get it.
You know,
That's Go ahead, JP.
well, I was just going to say, I'm reviewing some of my Bible verse notes that I keep, and I don't think there's any coincidence that the menorah has 7 lights in the tabernacle. And I read Revelation 4:5, and it says, "Out of the throne proceeded lightnings and thunderings and voices, and there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God." And Revelation 1:4 says, um, "John, to the 7 churches which are in Asia, grace be unto you and peace from him which is, and which was, and which is to come, and from the 7 spirits which are before his throne."
Mm,
So just interesting
you brought up
stuff
the
here.
seven spirits.
I'm getting into the numerology in the Bible now.
No, that's
I
good.
mean, if anybody
That's
ever wants
because
to know about the 7 spirits, it's in Isaiah 11. But I don't want to.
yeah. We
It does
shouldn't
Yeah.
it
we
does all
shouldn't
tie
veer off
in.
to that, but it's a good mystery. It's a good mystery. Because what are the
It,
seven
it
spirits of God? It's a good mystery to discuss at a later podcast.
Right.
so, so let me see. We're talking about the lamp, right? So I'm going to go to John 11 verses 9 and 10. Listen to this. It says, Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walks in the day," that's a key word because you can go to the book of Thessalonians, he talks about us walking in the day. "If any man walks in the day, he stumbles not because he sees the light of the world,"
Hmm.
right? He sees Christ. Jesus Christ is the light of the world. "But if a man walks in the night, he stumbles because there is no light in him."
Right. That's a great one. That also ties it all together. That's almost
Yes,
perfectly summarized exactly what we've been talking about.
right. So go back to the light that's in him and a person who sees the light of the world. We all experience life and we're all seeing the same things, right? So how can 10 people walk through the world? You could have 10 people side by side and we're all walking through a street in a city and we're all seeing the same things and we're all watching the world before us happen, but yet five of them are walking in darkness and five of them are walking in light. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense, does it? It does if you start to look at the light as your lamp as what you're receiving and how you receive it, right? So that means
Hmm.
that 5 people are receiving it in spiritual darkness and 5 people are receiving it in spiritual light. And the result of what the 5 who receive it in spiritual light, they will be able to see beyond the flesh and see what's happening in the spiritual realm, and they will have discernment of what's going on, versus the other ones that they're just trying to discern the flesh and they're not looking at it from a spiritual lens. And so they're going to allow the flesh to manipulate the way they view it.
And you could see this example of individuals all over the world when people just want to write off things and say things like, "Oh, demons aren't real," or "I'm not under spiritual attack," or "I can involve myself with this activity or that activity or this activity. Everything is fine. You guys are too into it. You guys are too manic or too Christian or too whatever." Um, I mean, that's just these are just different words that people use. And yeah, you see it all the time. And the thing is, like, you choose what you involve yourself in, right? You choose what you participate in. You make that decision. You choose if you're keeping that, if you're preparing that oil for when it's time to find your path, or if you're just dumping it into the streets and you have zero spiritual discernment. Because if God is not flesh, if God is spirit, right? And you will one day be with God in spirit, and you all you've ever trained up was how to work your flesh and your fleshly desires, and you could be you could do all the works in the world where none of that is going to help you. You should be covered by the grace of God, and if you're truly covered by the grace of God, that's going to show through your fruits. That's going to show through and like through what you do, and your spirit's going to develop, right? Sorry, I went on a monologue.
No, you're
Anyway,
fine.
yeah, and like, just to keep these videos short, we're trying to keep them a little short. This is our first one for the audience. I just want to let you guys know this will probably be one of our longer ones. We are closing it up here in a few seconds, and
How much time
hopefully,
do we have?
I like 3 minutes to close it down.
Do you, um, I was going to show in Exodus 25. I was going to have like someone read it, but I'll just read it really quick.
Okay.
So we're going back to the construction of the tabernacle. In Exodus 25, it says to craft the candlestick. It says to craft the candlestick with the lampstand with 4 lamp-shaped cups shaped like blossoms, like almond blossoms. And it keeps going through. It keeps going through the construction of the candlestick, right? And then it says the almond buds and branches must all be of one piece with the center stem, and they must be hammered from pure gold. So, what is shaped like an almond?
The eyeball,
Your ojos, right? Your eyes are shaped like an almond.
right?
And so we've already determined this is your sight, your spiritual sight. How is your spiritual sight like trained in this? Is it trials, right? Trials, trials and tribulations train our
Yeah,
spirit.
you get put through the fire,
Like
molded like a piece of metal,
beaten, beaten, right? A single
right?
piece of beaten gold, right? Your
Right.
your spiritual eye is beaten into form. And then and lastly, and then I'll just hand it over. In Jeremiah 1, 11, and 12, it says, Then the Lord said to me, Look, Jeremiah, what do you see? And I replied, I see an almond branch from the almond tree. And the Lord said, That's right. That means I am watching, and I will certainly carry out my plans. So the reason I read these is because I just want to show you that even the Old Testament, all of the scriptures agree that this concept of the almond shaped eye, this concept of light,
Yeah. Yeah.
is sight.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mm.
so how set are you on God? How strong is your light? Powerful. But what are you pushing out there? I think that's something that everyone needs to kind of look inside and realize for themselves. JP or Gage, do you guys have anything before we close it down?
I could just say that, it feels, I've talked to many people that say it feels like we're living near the end times, but, from Christians, not, the unbelievers. It's a whole different story, but just God can bring peace and protection and love. One of his main commandments in the new covenant in the New Testament is to love your neighbor as
Yeah.
yourself. And just for anybody out there that's suffering or struggling, with all this information, it's almost like just too much, too much, too much, too much. But there is a peace that Jesus Christ can bring. And if you just give him a chance, if you give the Holy Spirit a chance to get in you and teach you, there's a beautiful eternity out there. So please consider it. And just read your Bible yourself. Even a group of guys like us, we get together because we love each other, and we do believe in Jesus, and try to we want him to know that we're trying to do the best job we can. And we pray a lot. We don't record our prayers, but we do pray a lot too. So we will pray for you if you need it. And we love you. And thank you so much for checking out our very first video.
Yeah. Thank you. That was really well said. I'm glad you said it, and we didn't miss an opportunity to say, yeah, hey, you're welcome to come chat with us if you're interested about Christianity, just like JP said. And we pray that Jesus brings you to the light. So keep your eye single, keep your oil full, and keep your lamp lit, because midnight doesn't cancel light. It proves it. Think about that. We love you, and thanks for coming to watch. Got to figure out how to turn this off now. That's terrible.
Speed bumps for our first time. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it
This is
done?